For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to That's a Shame.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Was that really loud?
That was so loud.
Hello and welcome to That's a Shame. Episode 28. Sorry if I blew out the old microphone there, or your earbuds, or
Yeah,
whatever,
my absolute
or your
whole,
ear canal.
my whole audio sensory faculties have just imploded, fried.
Well, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the podcast.
Get out of the ears.
I'm Isaac, and joining me as always with 20% hearing loss, it's
Defclan.
that's him, Defclan. What a horrid pun that I hope never ever makes its way back into
I'm going to
my
change it
life,
on the artwork.
podcast. Oh dear, what's that? Even more people put off by our artwork.
Speaking about our artwork, we have to give a little shout out to the wonderful Emily,
Oh yeah.
who has presented us with the greatest gift either of us is ever likely to receive.
Eternal life.
That's the one. No, it's a teddy bear.
Oh no, it's a bear. Yeah, no, I get them mixed up sometimes.
It's a teddy bear, a small teddy bear with a customised That's a Shame t-shirt on
It's pretty special.
with our wonderful artwork designed by the beautiful Isaac over there.
Oh, thank you.
And it's, we've decided
Designed is a strong word.
in honour of, it is strong, cobbled together. We've decided in honour of our very first Hooked to name the bear Sweetheart.
Yep.
And it will be coming with us wherever we go.
I've stapled it to my iPod. It's really a good look.
Well, that's lovely. Thanks.
That's all right. Anytime. What was I? I was going to make.
I'll be bringing it down next time I come to see you.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
go on.
good. Which was I've forgotten now. Oh yeah, no, I was going to say about how it's quite bold of people in our position of having, just started out not having like a huge audience, that we've specifically designed stuff like art, our personalities, the website,
The whole concept of the show.
to really put off a large sector of the population. Because if you looked at it and you didn't get that it was intentionally shit, then you'd just be like, well, these people are obviously absolute idiots.
Developmentally inadequate.
Yeah. So I think that's good, and I think we should keep putting up these shibboleths, gatekeeping things.
And as we've spoken about in our super bonus secret episode,
Oh, I hope you've listened, guys.
sign up
if
to
you
the
haven't.
mailing list if you haven't, and we'll send it
Yeah,
to
should
you.
we? I was going to ask, do you reckon we should do some kind of grace period where, like, if people sign up in the next couple of weeks, then they might get it if they're lucky?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Okay, that's nice of us, isn't it?
But it's wonderful of us.
Yeah.
Charitable souls that we are.
I'd say so.
Is that in that super secret episode about not to be so secret anymore, but also in previous episodes, we have done our best to dissuade perhaps the greatest pool of the podcasting audience, which is the true crime fans.
Yes, we do take them head on.
If they've managed to clear the hurdles of the artwork, the pilot episode, all subsequent episodes,
Yep.
us,
Episode 12.
all our broken promises, all our scheduling bullshit,
Yep. It's very good of you.
that guest feature we had that really took off.
It will be returning to your ears in the next year. Calendar year, that is.
Then we probably slagged off something you've loved along the way.
And I'd tell you what, I have the greatest of respect for, in particular, anyone who has listened to this, thought, I like true crime, but I'm still going to carry on listening because I can set that aside.
If you guys are out there,
it's a good ability to
you're
have.
the real MVPs.
You really are. I mean, you'd be a bit more of an MVP if you gave up on the true crime, but look, I'm not going to have a go at you for it. Each to their own. We've got a topic to discuss this week in a loose sense.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'd put down on my little Google Keep of things we haven't talked about yet. Anecdotes from our lives. So, I think you have much more context to this than I do, because I didn't know you very much at this point, did I?
No. Well, we'd known each other for about 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah, that's not long, is it?
No.
Not in the
long.
grand scheme of things.
Definitely not.
And I was invited, so from my perspective, I got a text from Declan, I think, saying, "Oh, do you want to come to a pub quiz?" But let's cut over to your perspective, because you must know a bit more about the backstory. This was a regular thing, I understand.
Well, what I don't know if you remember is that it actually coincided with another event.
I have a vague recollection.
So we were that evening supposed to be going to the Drama Society's spring
Bullshit.
fling.
Spring nonsense.
Which was a spring-themed fancy dress nonsense in the shittest bar basement hellhole in the entirety of York. You could have held it on the bottom of the riverbed and people would have enjoyed themselves more. There'd have at least been more to drink.
So thanks to whoever the events coordinator was in the year 2014 or whenever it was.
And we had decided already that we were going to eschew the regular interpretation of spring as a theme. And we were going to go in suits as...
It's a really shit theme.
Yeah, we were going to go in suits as spring salesmen.
Oh yeah, that was lazy.
So, but I mean, it was just an excuse
had a prop,
to wear
though.
us. Yeah, we had a prop which was hastily printed off one sheet
Clip art.
of clip art of the spring. About 8 times overlapping on a single A4 sheet.
And I folded mine to give it an illusion that it was like
Don't
coil.
say yours like we each had one. I'm pretty sure we shared one.
I folded ours to give it the illusion of depth that we lacked.
Yeah.
Yes.
so
But,
we-
I mean, what a stupid theme that is, because what are you going to dress up as? A flower?
Lamb.
A lamb?
Yeah.
We've got an email about lamb.
Exactly.
Let me remember to talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
Shame mail coming up. Don't let me forget.
I won't.
So yes, that was the second part of the plan.
So we were already going to this event that evening, but my girlfriend at the time asked me if I would come along to this pub quiz. And she was sort of like asking me to come along because it was with a new friend that she'd made kind of that year, and she like kind of, wanted it to be a bit of a group event, wanted to get people together. This girl was bringing along a friend, and so she'd been like, oh, bring along your boyfriend, and
To you?
no, to my girlfriend,
I see.
who we'll call Kate, to disguise her name.
Transparent. Changed a couple of the letters.
But
By which I mean
just
one.
It's just spelled K8.
Nice. That was smooth. We should point out as well, if you've heard our episode where we talk about that play we saw, Dog Blog,
Yeah.
this is the relationship that would go on to end as a result of actions taking place that night.
The very same. So,
So there you are.
so
You
yeah.
and Kate.
Kate said to me, why don't you bring along a friend?
Why didn't you come up with a better fake name for me? I'm sorry, Kate.
I don't care for you enough anymore to disguise your identity. So I obviously asked you.
Yeah.
I was like, come along. It's not in town. And I didn't know quite where it was.
Yes, I felt like it's not in town was a statement that would go on to prove itself even more misleading than it initially sounded.
So all I knew was that we were getting a lift and we were being picked up from campus at 5:30, 6, something like that. Mm-hmm. So we went to campus. We dressed up in our Sunday best, printed off some clip art of a spring.
It's your normal night out.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to go without a clip out of a spring?
And then we climbed into the car. So there was Kate was in the front with her friend, Elaine, let's call her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't remember her real name, actually. So
Oh, no, wait, I was in the front, wasn't I? I was in the front with Elaine. And then Kate, you, and someone else were in the back.
Uh-huh.
And we were driving along, and it turned out that this pub, which was more of like one of those harvester type places, was in the middle of nowhere. Like it was miles away.
It was like on the Yorkshire moors. I felt like I was going to be Hound of the Baskervilles into an early grave. Like the mist around it
Was
if they hadn't had
rolling
the pub sign, it would have just been a ghost story.
Yeah. So it was somewhat worrying. And what was more worrying was the fact that on the journey there, Elaine made a joke that
Classic Elaine.
that there was someone in the boot, to which we all laughed raucously.
Oh, good one, Elaine.
And then,
Vintage.
and then from the boot came this muffled scream.
Not the pun! Shut up!
Not the quiz. Not the quiz.
And so that was a worry.
I remember looking in the rearview mirror at Isaac's face, and you like catching my eye
Just like,
in absolute horror.
because we're in a car with people I don't know.
There's someone in the boot.
I was probably sandwiched between two people I didn't know very well.
We're travelling further and further away from civilization.
In a tiny car.
You'd only known me 3
feel-
months.
I know. It could have just been you were playing the long game.
Yeah.
Just to get me out on the moors so you could feed me to the Basker dog.
So it didn't get off to the most encouraging of starts.
No, not the most traditional.
So we rocked up at this place, and it was fucking huge.
It was bigger than the food court on the P&O ferry.
Wow, a reference everyone can get on board with.
But we did talk about how big it was, so if you don't know, then go back and listen. It's
You
gigantic.
didn't say how big it was at all.
You did, you said it would fit 200 people.
I wasn't on a P&O ferry, and I wasn't in the food
Oh,
court.
they're all the same. Rooms,
You ferries.
Basically,
You've seen one, you've seen them all.
yeah, pretty much. It was a giant place, too big, if anything, cavernous, hotel-like in some regards.
Very much.
Like it had been hollowed out, though.
And it was sort of really strangely laid out because they were clearly prepared for having buffet nights, but they were also laid out for being a drinking pub, and it was also sort of laid out as just a restaurant. So you were in a kind of C shape, I suppose, around what would have been then the kitchen and the bar that was somewhat central.
The bar was giant as well.
It was so long.
A club.
And we managed to find ourselves a little corner table between us. Sat down, and it turned out that literally every fucker in this pub was doing the quiz. It was like the journey to Mecca. Everyone had just come, and everyone was taking part. It was such an enormous event.
It was like, it must have been only us in the whole county of Yorkshire that hadn't got the memo
Yeah.
about everyone's coming up to quiz, aren't they? Like, yep, see you there. I've got 10 people in my boot. See you at giant pub.
Got van full of refugees. We're going to have a great time. They'll know all the geography rounds.
And so it was an eclectic clientele, I would say,
Ranging
because
from
there was
students
to the near coffinized, to the barely clinging on to the last thread. You know that bit in Hercules where they cut the threads of
Yep.
their life with those horrid big scissors after sharing that one eye.
But an
There was someone for whom, the thread was so frayed that it was held together by but a wish and a prayer. And probably an either or rather than both.
They were just they were just going to blow it into 2 bits. They weren't even using the scissors. They were saving those.
They're just going to make eye contact with it for 1 second and it would just pale into bisection.
It was very much Schrodinger's string. Like there was only a 50% chance that it was actually connected
At
at
any
all.
one point.
So there was quite the spectrum of
Yep.
folk there. We collected the papers, and by papers I do mean like a compendium.
It was like we were researching our own quiz.
It was like getting the Principia or something, like just dumped onto your desk and being like, well, here we go, round 1. I suppose it started innocuously enough.
Yep.
They had a pretty decent tannoy system, which you'd have to reach 30% of the people in the room even.
All
And
4 corners.
they were, calling out the questions, seemed, the same roster of
Yeah.
pub quiz questions that are asked anywhere.
You've got your picture round, your normal, your sports, general knowledge,
Yep.
your cheese round, and then just everything's.
Sorry,
What?
I picture round.
Yeah, your picture round sports,
Sports,
geography, the cheese round, history.
No, sorry, no, before history.
Geography round.
No, after that.
Oh, the cheese round.
Right.
You're not familiar with the cheese round.
Let's focus in on the old cheese round. What
So
the
what
fuck
it
was that?
What happened was somewhere disguised in this labyrinth of
Yeah.
pub.
Well, I mean, let's just say that just before this, I'd been having an argument with Kate. I've been having an argument with Kate over one of the pictures from the geography round, which she was insisting was St. Peter's Basilica, and I was promising her was St. Paul's Cathedral.
I don't remember that. That's brilliant. And that relationship didn't last.
Not in any long-term sense, no. So, it was, your average pub quiz.
The seeds of
in a-
normal pub quiz had been sown.
Yeah, exactly.
The only difference now is that it was just in a giant room full of most of the population of North Yorkshire.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in a Ghostville. Until
It felt like the last. It felt like the last quiz before you will go and drink the punch, didn't it?
I thought you were going to say it felt like the last quiz as you were leaving the county. It's like everyone has to stop off for one more go. To get
Don't
their
let you in
fix for the road.
Lincolnshire if you can't do this.
And then so there are lots of events that you'll go to, and I think this is quite a universal experience where everything starts normal. It's so universal that it's like a classic film setup as well, taken to its logical conclusion. Everything starts with a normality, and there are kind of signifiers and signs that you can cling on to and recognise, like, this is normal, this is a pub quiz, they give out the pens, you choose your team name. But then something will happen, and it can either be, in a film, it would be like towards the end of the first act, like if it were a haunting or someone living in the house, like a cupboard's left open in the
Like
kitchen.
Stepford Wives or something.
Yes. And it's just this minor thing that just something makes you pause for a moment and wonder if your assumptions about the normality of your surroundings are like held up by what's actually going on. And for me, this was when, as if in the most rehearsed, as if like the North Korean military had been practicing this maneuver for 20 years to impress their fat dictator king, everyone as one arose from their seats and formed the most beautifully orderly line in front of, from where we were sitting. It just looked like a random corner, and it was towards where the bar was, but it wasn't at the bar. It was like another bit along.
It was like, yeah, it was a bit further along, where I think, because I walked past it afterwards, because you and Kate went up to do this round, didn't you?
Yes.
But I walked past it later, and it was like where they'd have the meats if you were at a harvester for the little buffet. Mm-hmm. But instead
What
of
they had
meat,
instead was a solid 8,000 different cheeses. And the round was never really explained. So you had to just kind of intuit that when faced with the puzzle that is a piece of cheese, it's like, well, I guess we're naming them. Like, that seems to be the vibe. But these old Yorkshire folk will all go up and say, smells like a brie, but it's got the constitution of a cheddar. Just like digging in, peering at them, or breathing. You could see their breath misting against the glass in the most repulsive, thick-breathed fashion, as everyone just absolutely stares down these giant cheeses that have just been left there like some weird museum to a civilization that had since passed on out of memory. And so everyone's just walking around, like peering and pointing at cheese and writing down their cheese guesses, as if it is just the peak of normalcy. Like, this is just a normal Thursday. It's like, well, it's Thursday, it's 9 o'clock, it's the cheese round.
you said that like it was the Johnny Carson show or something. It's Thursday, it's 9 o'clock, it's the cheese show.
That was the basic
That was the original pitch.
Sadly, it had
What if
gone
you just-
downhill from its original booking into just being one round of a quiz.
What if you just do interviews again? Come on. The cheese, it's run its course.
It's like my Scream of the Week segment that never quite made it to radio.
But maybe still.
Will, I'm sure, be a sleeper hit, and that's a shame. If you've got a Scream of the Week, tas@shame.city, send it in. Audio files only. I'm not interpreting any like written screams. Who do you think I am? So the cheese round was my first big clue that I wasn't in a scenario in which I'd been before.
I think it's fair to say that it's not wholly out of the norm to have a round where you've got to kind of go up and identify something. Like because there was another round later on that was the same but with sweets, wasn't there?
I don't remember that one.
Do you not? Yeah,
I remember eating some sweets,
Yeah,
but I don't
that-
think I went up to get them.
No, we kind of like brought a cup back, and you had to like name them, or
I think I
or in
probably
your case,
missed-
just eat them. So it's not like hugely out of the norm, but it's the fact that it was so clinically rehearsed.
Yeah, it's
And
just
it
like the
felt-
most
yeah.
normal thing.
Anyway, sat down from the cheese round, penned a couple of answers.
Yeah.
There was another couple
Baby
of
Bell
rounds.
for all 10 of them.
Yep. Cheese string. And, it was fine, film round.
We should mention, though, by this point, in my memory, that we'd, I think, eaten already. Like
we'd
some
had
food.
a whole meal.
And the quiz had been going on.
The girl who'd been in the boot had already left.
Oh, yeah, I
like,
forgot
she
about
got
her.
picked up and had gone home.
Yeah, we never really mentioned. We didn't follow up on that strand. But yeah, the person from the booth, it turned out, the boot turned out was mostly a consensual visitor. She hadn't just fallen asleep like a dormouse and been through some like Disney-esque mishap transported into a magic cheese land.
No.
But she'd come for a bit of the quiz, but then was just fucking off from, I don't know how. Where was she picked up or something? Because it was literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I think
I
someone
think she
came
lived
together.
on the moors.
We should say as well, I suppose, for any non-British viewers, that the boot is the trunk.
Yes, I'm sure. I mean,
Just
if you
in
haven't
case.
picked that
Yeah,
out
I
from
know, but
context,
just-
turn off the show and go and read a book. So the quiz had been going on for a while.
About
like,
at least 90 minutes.
you have this kind of like internal clock that I think kicks in pubs, especially, where you
Yeah.
can judge time by like how much people are drinking, when you're going up to get another one. And having done like a few pub quizzes in my life, you have a sense that things are coming to wrap up. Like, where do you go from the cheese round is what I would think.
Yeah.
If I were planning the like narrative arc of that quiz, I'd be building up with the sweets, and then the cheese would be the apex. Send them home on a high note.
But there was no such indication that things were even beginning to slow up. In fact,
It was
we were
just
just
the
warming
start.
up.
Yeah.
Because after a few more rounds, another break so people could have a 3-course meal.
Go and shave some cheese onto a plate.
Some people went and had a nap, to rest up for the next bit. Suddenly, someone came round and started handing out bingo cards. And
Bingo, of course, being a very different game to the quiz itself.
And again, sometimes when you go to a quiz, there's an intermediary round or something in the middle, or
I've
or
seen it
even
done
like
where
another
it's
game.
like you bet on a question or something. There'll be a question with like a numerical answer.
Yeah.
And then you do like more of a bet depending on how confident you are, and the
Yeah.
closest person gets all the money, like that sort of
Something
thing.
like that.
Just to break up, like a half-time piece.
Yeah, but they were handing out these bingo cards again with kind of stunning obliviousness to the idea that someone who hadn't been to this pub quiz before might wonder, why am I receiving a bingo card? Why is everyone receiving a bingo card? And then in an instant, everything went silent.
Yeah.
Everyone hushed.
It was like Miss Trunchbull had walked in for the first time with that riding crop.
It was like
and
someone
those
had just
horrible
been
boots.
shot, like executed in the middle of the room, and everyone just fell deadly silent.
Not necessarily scared or moved, but just
No.
kind of waiting to see what would happen next. A
And then-
curious, pregnant silence.
For us, at least. For everyone else, it was because they knew that now was bingo time. And bingo time, you shut the fuck up, you take out your pen, and you play fucking bingo.
Until you've got a bingo.
And so out of nowhere came this 2 and 2, 22.
Just out of the ceiling.
And
It was on the most brilliant tannoy system.
just,
like you
like-
said. Like it was just everywhere.
It was like the voice of God.
It's like Dolby Atmos. It's better than some IMAX experiences
Yeah.
I've had. He felt like he was in my skull.
And everyone around the room suddenly.
Two and two. It's a bold start. It's the classic opening gambit.
And I mean, we were really gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Like, because we're starting to feel like we were in some sort of cult.
Yeah.
Because the thing about bingo that we discussed is that it's the game with the least fun in the whole
The
world.
thing about my line about bingo is if there are no people there, the game of bingo can play itself out.
like it's
Because it's
exactly
just automated. The only role of a human in bingo is to facilitate
Someone
the
getting a
exchange
prize,
of a
yeah.
number being read out, and being spotted on a plate, on a little card. There is fuck all point to it.
Like, there's no activity, there's no skill from the caller, there's no skill from the player.
No. In fact, the only possible way you could be punished as a bingo player is if you were too stupid to be able to
Or too slow.
to input the information of someone reading out a number and then output it in the form of a dot on the same number on the card in front
Or
of
if
you.
you're some sort of narcoleptic who can suddenly fall asleep for one number and not realise that you've
And wake
had
up
a
and it's the
bingo
cheese
whole
round
time.
again. We should just say, because I'd be remiss not to mention it, that if you have not seen, listeners, the clip of Impractical Jokers, one of the greatest
My
TV
goodness,
shows
it
of
will
all
be
time.
100%
Yeah, we'll
linked on
link
the
to
site.
it. Shamelessity of Sal Vulcano playing bingo, but the catch is that he just has to call out that he has bingo at the whim of the other three people. And you've never felt the aggression from such an aged population. It was like they all remembered what it felt like when Poland was first invaded. They were like just brimming for a fight. It's the most incredible video. He has to keep going, I got it, I got a bingo.
That's a bingo.
Yeah. It's so brilliant. We'll link to it.
But this,
Bingo.
like, we had something similar in that, you know, we were having a laugh
Yeah.
at the preposterous nature of 1,000 people all suddenly falling quiet in the middle
Yeah,
of
I
dinner
can't-
and a quiz.
There are almost no circumstances under which suddenly everyone becoming really quiet and serious doesn't immediately cause me to laugh,
No.
which has caused some issues during moments of
Church,
silence in secondary
funerals.
school. Yeah. But there's something just like, it's just the kind of mode change. I
Oh,
guess.
yeah.
It's just really funny. So it's hard. And bingo players take it seriously.
Yeah, but this is it. Like, we were having a laugh about it and got told off. What was frightening for me was that we got told off by, like, one of the guys running the quiz. They're like, can you keep it down? Like, we're playing bingo. This is... Like,
Have some respect. People died for these balls. Les Dennis's career was sacrificed so that he could call bingo.
And, you know, there are some people at the next table who shot us a dirty glance every now and then. But what was more frightening, what felt more like we were in some kind of strange Hot Fuzz, Stepford Wives kind of world,
The greater good.
is that Kate and Elaine and everyone that we were with were suddenly also going,
Transformed.
shh, it's
Yeah.
the bingo round. Like, they'd fallen under the spell that the evil wizard had kind of
Nobody move.
wiggled his fingers and this fairy dust had settled like
Yeah.
something that had come out of Tinkerbell's arse, just all over
That's not how
everyone in the
fairy
whole
dust
room.
works.
Shh, that's it. I've
was
watched
moth-
Peter
it was
Pan
like
once
moth dust.
900 years ago. I know. And suddenly everyone had kind of taken a sniff and a
Yeah.
sneeze, and all of a sudden they were falling under the spell.
It is that thing, like we've talked about it specifically quite a few times on the show, because it's like my greatest fear that they play on in horror films, where in the third act, the person who you think was on your side is revealed not to be.
Yeah.
And it's just like the last people have gone and you're just completely alone. And we were just the only people there who had, for some reason, foregone the apparently mandatory respect for bingo class that was output in Yorkshire in the early 2000s. And it was just a really odd atmosphere. But it played itself out. I don't think we did much in bingo, did we?
No.
Was there not at this point? Is this not where there was
No.
also some roulette element?
No. What I remember from bingo is, I mean, we talk about Twin Peaks a lot, but it's probably something if I could be bothered, I'd think of another film or TV show where
I'll
something
think
similar
while you
happens.
say.
Yeah. The only
Fire walk with me. Fuck.
The Return. The only other example I can think of are those drink driving adverts, where it's like a really busy bar, and there's like that guy talking about his experience, and then suddenly everything kind of hushes and the lights go down, and it's kind of just a single white light illuminated on his face, and everything is dark, and it's just this one person talking, and then at the end of that kind of scene, the lights all come back up again and everyone starts moving and the drinks are clinking again and we're back to that kind of normal scene. And for me, this is kind of what happened with the bingo, that everything was moving and then suddenly it all went quiet. Everything was somber. You played the game of bingo. Everyone got involved. Kate and Elaine fully lost to the evil spell of this nonsense Moors pub quiz. And then as soon as someone called bingo, clearly the game was over. And then
Revelry.
like that, it was like the bar staff suddenly started moving again. People started eating.
Yeah.
Glasses
it
were
became
chinking.
like a feast scene
Yeah.
from the most outlandishly decadent
Like Beowulf
medieval
adaptation.
vibe, yeah.
And
Just like prostitutes were brought in
Yeah.
to service everyone and
they sort
anyone.
of wielding a huge roast pig with an
In
apple
we
in its
go,
mouth.
lads.
And
The cheese was just flowing. It was really beautiful.
And we were the only fuckers in the place looking round like, how is this normal? Why are you going along with this?
Yeah, any volume we had during the initial bingo stage was replaced by just utter silence and confusion when everyone snapped out of it.
Yeah.
At the fact that everyone had kind of gone into this mass hallucination and then just come out of it with such speed and intensity that it was just like whiplash inducing.
Yeah.
Quite marvellous.
And again, the kind of the quiz returned
Yeah.
and it was, a TV
We're on about
round.
hour 3 by now.
Yeah. Music round, languages round, algebra round, list all the decimals of pi round, all of this. And then
Results.
the triumphant finale
Mm-hmm.
of this quiz.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not calling it a quiz.
No, it was a bonanza. It was a
There we
bonanza.
go.
of
Bonanza.
games.
Good word. The culmination was that from nowhere, like, I could not tell you to this day where the fuck they brought this in from. Someone drags in an enormous, full-scale, fully operational wheel from Wheel of Fortune.
It was magical.
Like,
it was complete with the.
It was
noise
it
that
was
you know and
too
love.
big. It was too big to have come in from the front. Like, it was taller than the doors.
Yeah.
It appeared too quickly for them to have assembled it.
Maybe
But where
they'd
in
been
the-
assembling it for the whole rest of the quiz. That's why they had to store them with some cheese.
Quick, wheel out the bingo. And I couldn't think of a single place where they could have been hiding
pub.
it. Like, it's a
No.
fucking pub.
It's difficult to secrete.
But there it was, 8 foot tall at least, fully functional. Like you say, the clicker, the glitter, the lights, everything.
Colours. It was magical.
And
really.
again, and now it's time for Wheel of Fortune. Everyone, cheering, clapping.
Wheel of Fortune. It was mad.
They had like the theme music from the show playing over the speakers. Like, what?
A man broke a bottle over his head in sheer glee. It's just madness.
One guy just started screaming bingo, just waving his card.
One man just ate an entire wheel of camembert like it was a single pebble
Like that
he'd
mouse.
scrounged off the street.
The mouse hunt.
Some people started bleeding from various orifices just for the sheer thrill of it.
There are people just fucking on the tables. It was just an
It's
absolute
outrageous.
raucous.
Someone smashed the top of the Heineken keg, so it was just spewing out everywhere like
This
some
is
ejaculate.
in no way elaborated or exaggerated
No.
or embellished. This
It's
is
just mad.
this is the exact atmosphere of the room.
Yeah.
And
Carnival atmosphere.
fucking Kate and Elaine, they were standing on their chairs pretty much excited. Like
They broke into a pre-rehearsed cheerleader routine. It involved some of the most impressive flipping I've seen to this day. Some of the most innovative use of cheese juggling.
literally
I've ever
defied
come across.
gravity and decency. It was absolutely
mad.
like they were fully lost to this
Yeah.
ghost town. Like at the start when you said if it weren't for the pub sign,
Yeah.
it would have been a ghost story. Like, I'm not convinced that it isn't. Like, I'm not convinced if we went back the next day, it wouldn't have been like in some sort of PG-rated Disney film, just a hall filled with skeletons, like the Black Cauldron or something.
The skeletons of some old cheese.
Yeah.
I feel like the atmosphere was so ripe with just sheer joy, and I'm gonna go for it, that if instead of a Wheel of Fortune they'd wheeled in a
Gallows.
full-sized wicker man we would have been burning to death before the minute
would
was
have been
out.
straight in there. The landlord Summer Isle would have dragged us. He'd have,
With an atmosphere of utter, football chanting glee.
to the point that I simply cannot be certain that at the same point that they wheeled out this enormous Wheel of Fortune prop, that everyone didn't, from underneath their chairs, pull out an animal mask and just put it over their faces.
And start slitting their own cheeks
Yeah.
so that they did a blood sacrifice.
It was
to
just,
Amun-Ra.
there was a fucking maypole made out of skulls, and
Yeah, that was my favourite.
it was just, there was no describing
Someone
how...
kicked a barrel of locusts to death. Corpses flying everywhere. It was lovely.
It was there was just no reason that anything
To be this
describing
About
itself as
a
a
wheel.
pub quiz
About one of the inventions that has been in existence for the longest
Unchanged.
span of human
that
history.
so just think that we managed to go about 8,000 years, probably maybe more, without ever putting numbers and prizes on a wheel. And then one day some fucker thought, if we
God.
put, you know what this is missing? A, straight edges, and B, a little clicker and some pegs.
It's truly the greatest invention of all time.
But nothing calling itself a pub quiz should end in this place. It's like
In such decadence.
It's like Alan's search history, yeah? You know the one that was thumb war, kissing prank, gone sexual, gets a blowjob. Like, we'd started with thumb war, yeah? We came expecting a thumb war, and by the time it ended, there were people sucking each other off left, right, and centre in the most abominably raucous display of unnecessary mirth that I have ever had the misfortune to be part of.
The landlord did a line of coke off Elaine's back. It was just nuts. It's like Wolf of Wall Street. There were people just making it rain like old school galleons.
At least in Wolf of Wall Street, there's the sense that they're spending millions that they've just earned. This was a Yorkshire pub quiz. The prize for winning the cheese round was the leftover cheese. Like, there's no
They were just chucking bits of pie crust.
just a laughing cow just rolled down the aisle.
They were just throwing bits of dreams of investment in their infrastructure all around the room.
And they had, like no joke, about a dozen prizes for this
it was
Wheel of Fortune.
It was mental.
There was such an enormous wagon full of goodies.
Yeah.
And
It felt like a game, like an ITV Saturday night game show.
yeah,
kind of
I've like
setup.
it felt like Ant and Dec were going to kind of wander in at any moment and be like, "Oh, you're live on Saturday Night Takeaway!" Like, thank God, here we go. You know, have some fun. How
We got you
did
with
you
that
like the
cheese
bingo?
We really had you going there.
That was Dec's idea, the old bingo. The cocaine was Ant's.
Isn't he in rehab at the moment?
That was the joke.
I see. I was just checking.
In good taste, like the rest of our stuff.
Yeah. Now, we managed to place higher than anticipated, did we not?
Well, hang on. Let's not end Wheel of Fortune just yet,
Okay.
because we haven't spoken about the greatest prize of all time.
Yes, but was that not the overall prize, or is that just the prize for this
That was
one segment?
That was the main prize for the Wheel
Right.
of Fortune. Like, it was the
Well, that's just bullshit. Why was it a better prize than winning the whole quiz?
winning the whole quiz was like 50 quid or something,
Yeah.
and it was about five to enter. So
Yeah.
so
Okay, set this up. If you can.
there have been about 11 prizes given out. Like, if you imagine, if you've been able to follow our description of the atmosphere when Wheel of Fortune was announced, just think how ecstatic every single atom of every single idiot in this fucking room was after 11 whole prizes, after the wheel had been spun a full 11 times and come to rest, providing someone in the room. I don't even know, I don't even know how they chose the people to come up.
No, I have no idea.
I think it was like whoever provided the most satisfactory sacrifice. And the last person to come up was this elderly woman who had sacrificed
the oldest woman of all
Oh,
time.
yeah. When we said at the beginning about someone whose very grasp on the idea of life was so tangential to everything we understand about living, that is who this was.
the wrong cloud in the sky could have sent her off into the
That would've been
netherworld.
She was.
Oh, there I go.
The earth was constantly opening beneath her feet, ready to accept her into.
That thing of where you get a shiver in your back because someone's walked on your grave would just become her 24/7 routine.
You could literally see about through the floor, down about 100 feet, where Hades was kind of like moving left and right, getting ready
Salivating.
to catch her.
like one of those games where you catch stuff in a basket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she shuffled up in a display that both was painfully slow but also devastatingly excited and just full of energy. As much energy as she could muster. She knew that this was the last great hurrah in her life. Or so she thought.
You know, in every in every like shitty kids film about anything small like animals or insects, there's always the joke of the really excited snail who's trying to charge
the
to
turtle.
something. That was this woman. Like she was going so unfathomably slowly, like
But just making complete eye contact with the wheel the whole time.
the very idea of like her movement was a visual illusion.
Yeah. It gave the impression that the wheel in her mind was kind of, she was practicing for when she walked towards God at the pearly gates.
Valhalla.
Here I come, Lord!
the guy standing next to it with the mic just suddenly keeps morphing in and out of the vision of St. Peter to her.
Jangling a pair of keys at his gate. It was really quite spectacular.
But as again, the entirety of this 10-minute run up that she took to this wheel, people were cheering her on.
Drums were beating.
You know, at like a primary school sports day where it's like the end of the cross country race, and there's that one fat kid who's still going, bless him, even though the whole day's finished, everything else is packed up.
His dad runs in from the stand like, "Come on, son, you got this!" Like patting his back,
He's clapping, he's patting his brow down with a
chucking
damp
water
cloth.
bottles on him.
Like that was everyone in this room for this old woman.
Everyone was all in. I think we were caught up as well by this.
Oh, but we
it was
couldn't.
impossible not to be.
No, like we were terrified, like absolutely, and with every single fibre of my delicate little soul, terrified that instead Hades would be greeting me
Yeah,
with his
like if
fucking salivating.
the wheel turned onto the bit that was on fire, then we'd all just have to be shot to death in a suicide pact.
So
It really keeps the blood pumping, though, that Russian roulette approach to the Wheel of Fortune.
So she reaches the wheel.
Yeah, at long last.
The concept is probably again explained to her because since the time she started moving,
Civilizations had come and gone.
the Mayans, the Phoenicians gone.
Yeah.
Like the part of her brain that held that information had died, been replaced about 7 times over. I know that doesn't happen to the brain. It's a fucking metaphor, you pricks.
What became clear, though, was that she'd been wise to conserve her energy en route because, boy, did she need it for the wheel.
Oh my goodness.
She put everything she had.
It looked like she was trying to climb the wheel. That's how high she reached on it. She was a small, hunchbacked old woman.
She channeled like the full power of our ancestors.
And she kind of brought herself up to her full height. Vertebrae that had been dormant, fused together.
Sounded like when the Iron Giant came back to life.
Yeah. It was that moment when the basilisk emerges.
Yeah.
It was everything you could hope for, that she emerged up like some sort of absolute fucking giraffe. Like
when all the Power Rangers put themselves together to make one big Power Ranger, and you wonder why they didn't do that every episode, the stupid idiots.
Why were they ever a separate entity? Why they weren't just the power robot?
Yes, so she
Clasped.
put everything she had into it.
Clasped the wheel with the final...
Her tendrils. Her hands shaking. The skin cracking with the very effort of moving your fingers apart to grab it.
Like
its girth.
Under her nails was dust from the library at Alexandria. Like this was now suddenly being dislodged. A new species, long since thought to be extinct, falling out of her hair.
Just flourishing all over the place.
Yep. And up she ran, clasped onto the wheel, and veritably collapsed downwards. This could have...
Shouting, Wheel of Fortune!
and round the wheel went.
I mean, she had, to her credit, she'd given it a fucking hell of a go.
I tell you what, I've never seen a wheel spin like that.
No. And I'd been on the motorway.
The clicker
Yeah. It was going mad.
rattling
Could only
away.
Hold on.
One of them broke off, just turned into dust.
It burst into flames.
The very axle along which it spun
Yeah.
just turned into liquid, molten lava, poured out of the sides.
And the nearest man just grabbed it in his cupped hands.
The wheel was spinning on pure force, levitating. It was just spinning with its own full speed.
It's amazing.
Until finally, you begin to hear that change in tempo. The rattle begins to turn into a slight tick. And in full movie fashion, the arrow pointed down, pointed down, pointed down. One more block needed. Up it pings to the grand prize slot. And what did 9,100,000,000-year-old Mildred
A
win?
woman whose existence predates technology.
What did the crowd cheer for as it was thrust from the host's hands into her bony...
It was dropped by a
Now
helicopter.
Like her
Richard
hands,
Branson did a flyby.
all of the skin and muscle from her hands had fallen. It had all been used to spin this wheel. She was nothing but a skeleton from the waist up.
Yeah.
And what was she given? A fucking PlayStation 4.
I've never been so happy to see the exchange of goods or services as when the oldest woman alive was given a then hot off the shelves, pretty much brand new in the last quarter, PlayStation 4.
I have never been so happy not to have won a PlayStation 4 in my life.
Yeah.
It was the most incredible moment. Like, you suddenly, everything fell into place. It all made sense.
You were like, that's what it was for.
You're like, I wouldn't have felt this joy without the cheese round.
Yeah,
Without knowing,
and without the silence and the respite of the bingo.
without the fact that we'd been in this room for a week.
And it was 9,000 hours away from our home,
we'd missed
which was now a
Christmas.
distant memory. I'd failed my degree.
Spring fling. It was fucking July.
The spring salesman costume, now even less relevant, that it turned into dust on our very bodies.
A word like Microsoft had dispensed with the very concept of clip art. They were like, fucking use Google.
That paperclip had taken over the whole company and really restructured things for the worst.
There was a new language.
Yeah.
We came out, we had to entirely readjust ourselves. It was like coming out of prison after a 20 stretch.
It was like being in Fallout and coming out of the vault after nuclear apocalypse. It was just a miraculous moment. The joy on this old woman's face.
As we stepped out of the door into the, like, cold, harsh light of dawn,
Dawn the next week.
the sun just cresting the distant, but also right next to us moors.
Yeah, the sky red with blood, as if to say, what you have done this night will be remembered.
It was
Songs will be sung of your journey.
It was that moment at the end of the third Matrix film, after there's been this apocalyptic fight in the rain, and suddenly all that remains afterwards is the New York City skyline and one woman on a bench in the sun.
Yeah,
and
knowing all the future all at once.
that is it. And it was like having survived Revelations.
It was, kind of like Andy Dufresne at the end of Shawshank, but better. And she went home with her PlayStation, we can assume. Took it back
Definitely.
to show like a kill that she'd made as a hunter-gatherer. Dragged it back to her cave in the moors to share with that dog.
She probably just used it to beat small rodents to death.
It's just the world's most expensive coffee holder. She just poured all the grains right in the disc tray. And we've never been back. We couldn't really, we couldn't have gotten there if we tried. We don't know where it is.
It was like the room of requirement.
Yeah, it's like Mary Poppins. Like, when you need it, it's there, but when you want it, it's gone. Yeah, what more is there to say? It was quite the experience. We did eventually make it to Spring Fling, where our outfits were roundly perplexing.
But by that time, it was the Christmas do.
Yeah.
What could, like, a couple of hours in a shitty little dive in the middle of York City,
Yeah.
sorry. Yorkshire City. Make it sound like Mexico
That's what they
City. What could that possibly be? How could that in any way compare? How does any experience have any meaning
Yeah, it
after
doesn't.
this absolute evening, month, lifetime experience of complete and utter debauchery?
I've never been able to look at a wheel since. Yeah. I haven't touched cheese
No,
since that fateful day.
the whole idea of dairy.
It's just out the window for me. PlayStation 4s, though.
It's been like some sort of tragic mythical romance that Isaac has since spent every waking moment of his life refreshing his pages on the PlayStation 4, going into like games all over the world, hoping to bump into
This is the
XXX underscore Mildred underscore XXX.
That'd be amazing. She wrecked me, actually, in Call of Duty. It's quite embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, we were originally going to talk about, or maybe we'll talk about this another episode now, because we were going to lead on to when we did our Disney night, which we've mentioned but never really discussed at length.
I think that's, another...
But I frankly don't have the energy
I'm
having
exhausted.
relived that experience.
I'm
I feel like I
sweating.
need to go and be sick. So am I. Oof. We have an email, Shame Mail.
Yes.
Our regular segment. Send your emails into tass at
you got it
shame.city.
up?
Thoughts, feedback, questions. I do indeed. Hi, Isaac and Declan. Says Millie, you should set up, I've learnt from broadcasting, the emailer first, because then the audience can imagine their voice.
For context as well, Millie is my sister.
Yeah. Hi, Isaac and Declan. She put me before you, just something to think about. Lamb of God makes reference. This is something we discussed in one of our Christian chat episodes. I was musing on why it was a lamb specifically, because it seems like a weird animal to suggest. You thought it was an innocence thing, and I thought there were more innocent animals than those dirty thieving lambs, which I love really. Lamb of God makes reference to Passover in Exodus. Lambs were sacrificed and their blood was put on doorways, it sounds like our quiz, so that the plague which swept through Egypt wouldn't affect them and Mildred could win her Xbox One package. Jesus was also sacrificed, so is called the Lamb of God. Love always, Millie. Thank you very much, Millie, for the most informative email we've had so far. I was genuinely curious, but too lazy to look it up, so I very much appreciate
Thanks for
this
taking the
extra
time
knowledge.
for us.
I think we should forego, perhaps, the feature that you had in mind
Yeah, I think
for
so.
the next show, because
we'll
we've run
save it.
over.
Yeah.
This has been episode... Oh, no, plugs.
Okay, well, if you, like Millie, would like to enlighten us on any aspect of any religion or other topics, we're easy, then you can reach us either through the website. How would you do that, Isaac?
Ooh, you'd go shame.city/contact, or just shame.city and click on the contact page.
Or you can email us tass@shame.city. If you don't need that many characters to contact us, then you can, of course, find us on Twitter @That's a Shamecast. Alternatively, you can find myself @CynicalDeclan, and you can find Isaac @IsaacBD.
True enough. Reviews are always appreciated. You know, there's a bit of a cumbersome process to leave them, I understand. I've thought maybe we could do something where we encourage weird reviews, and the weirder they are, assuming they're 5 stars, let's not fuck around, the weirder they are, the more likely we are to read them on air.
Definitely.
So if you post something just mad, or you can like attack us, you can kind of be like, oh, what an idiot. 5 stars.
See,
something better than
the
that.
bar for quality is set spuriously low.
Yeah. Then we'll give them a readout and a little shout out.
Yes.
And, we'll work that out. You can go to shame.city/review if you're on an iOS device, and it will take you straight to the Apple Podcast review page. Other than that, tell a friend about the show, because word of mouth is, as we famously said, word of mouth is best of mouth, which doesn't mean a lot.
And haven't
but
said
what it does
since.
mean- what it does mean is, pass it on to a friend. It's the best way for us to expand and keep producing all this nonsense twice a week.
And of course, if you, whilst we're still feeling generous enough to dispense it, would like access to the secret episode, and
It was
indeed,
quite a good episode, wasn't it?
yeah, we've had some nice feedback from it, haven't we?
Yeah, it was a bit sort of a bit more.
They're very relaxed.
Yeah,
Not
relaxed.
that this isn't.
No, but it was I don't know. It had a very different vibe. I enjoyed it.
So yeah, to receive the one that we released yesterday, or Friday as it will be, then well, you have to edit this out. I just totally forgot everything I was going to say. I was thinking about Mildred and her PlayStation of Death.
Fucking hot Mildred and her PS4.
You can receive Friday's secret episode and all subsequent bonus
Secret
episodes.
Shames, they're called.
Isn't that a great name?
Yeah, well done.
By signing up to the mailing list, which you can find on our website, shame.city/mail.
Or that lovely pop-up that will do the work for you. I've had a delightful, exhausting, momentous time recounting that greatest of PlayStation 4 heroes, Mildred, and her tale of victory. How about you?
I have to go to work now. And
Are you in the
I
right
don't
mood?
know how I can look any individual human in the eye knowing what I have just recounted.
You're just going to have to like grab them by the head and kiss them so hard on the mouth that that knowledge is somehow transferred orally into their own brain.
Yeah. I'm going to have to
That's the
absolutely...
harassment waiting to happen. Yeah.
Look, the hotel's not doing great. We may as well just go out with a bang.
This has been episode 28. We're going out with a bang right now. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.